Hey everyone, hey wellness crew. And today it was really on my heart to talk about ending people pleasing. This is such a negative, thing to really get caught up in. This is something that a lot of people are afflicted with. And it's not something that's easy to get out of, but it is something that you can learn tools for how to get out of that people pleasing mode and into the mode of doing what you want to do, doing what excites you, doing what makes you happy. A really big thing with people pleasing is that inability to say no. I've had this experience many times. I've had this experience in the past of being unable to stop my people pleasing, of being unable to set the boundaries that I needed to set. And I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know that all I needed to do was be able to say no and be able to set up my boundaries. A lot of times when people first hear this information, they think that by saying no and setting up boundaries, it has to be something rude or it has to be something cold. It doesn't have to be like that at all. You can be very warm and you can be very, nice about it. But being able to say no is such a big component of stopping people pleasing. A lot of times people just kind of go with the flow of things. If someone asks them to do something and they don't have the confidence, they will just say yes to everything. They will say yes to things that really aren't authentic for them. They'll say yes to things that really just aren't for them, that these are for other people. These are things that are energy draining, constantly absorbing up all of your energy until there's really nothing left for you. And I know that feeling, and I know how difficult it is to be in that position, to feel like you can't say no, to feel like you can't set up your boundaries, but you totally can. It's totally possible in so many ways. When we're talking about boundaries, what we're talking about is a parameter around you, almost like a fence. And imagining that this fence has one little swinging door, right? That can open up and that you are in control of this swinging door. So imagine that if you're a people pleaser, this door is constantly open. I mean, constantly. And it's being flooded in by people, by strangers, by people you know, by pretty much anyone and everyone. So imagine that door just being wide open. And that's what's happening when you're unable to say no and when you're unable to really set up your boundaries. Then it's almost like instead of just having that one door open, the complete fence around you is completely crashed down. Now, I always talk about that there's three things that are super important to life. That's your energy, that's your time, and that's your money. So, a lot of this, when it comes to people pleasing, is mainly about expending your energy, but also about expending your time. And it's also sometimes about spending money. I know I've had clients that have told me that because they couldn't say no, they've wasted money on things and experiences that they didn't need or that they didn't want to begin with. But because somebody asked them or because somebody was suggestive to them and was really begging for them. And that's one thing to really watch out for, right? When someone is begging you for something. And you really have to listen to your heart and to your gut. Also listen to your mind as well, right? That's where our masculine energy resides. It resides in our minds. Our feminine energy resides in our bodies. And this is important to note because for men and women, the percentages of feminine and masculine energy are different. And why this has to do with boundaries and what this has to do with people pleasing is because you have to be aware of your quote unquote force field, right? You have to be aware of what it means to always say yes. You have to be aware of the energy that you're emitting. When you're coming out confidently, when you're coming out showing your body language being very open, but also having your speech and your whole energy, your whole aura coming from a very confident place. that is where you want to be at. That is where you're going to be able to say no to people and no to things, no to experiences that just aren't right for you, that just aren't what you need, what you want. Because that's what happens with people pleasing. We end up doing things we don't want to do. We end up saying yes to people we really shouldn't be saying yes to. And we end up wasting a lot of our time, a lot of our energy, and a lot of our money. So learning how to say no is something that for some people can take time. For other people, they're on it immediately. It just depends on what type of person you are and your personality. And it's totally okay whichever way you're going to come about this. For some people, yes, like I said, it is going to take time, and that's okay. But saying that first no, saying that, to be honest with you, this just isn't something that's aligned with me, or saying, hey, I really can't do that today, but thank you for the offer, or thanks for asking, but this is something I'm unavailable to do. Really thinking about your time as money, thinking about the way that you're spending your time is the way that you're spending your money, thinking of your energy as a bank account as well. We all only have so much energy for so many things. We only have so much energy for so many people. We all only have so much energy for so many experiences that we do want to have. And people wanting to have experiences, right? I'm not saying to say no to everything. I'm not saying that you have to completely board up, shut people down, and do all that. What I'm saying is when you're saying yes to everything and everyone all the time, that's energy, that's time that you're using and potentially wasting. A lot of this people pleasing also comes from having a victim mentality and comes from having guilt. And that's something that a lot of people really don't think about or realize when they're in the midst of being a people pleaser. But when you are in this people pleasing mode, it is kind of coming from a place of guilt because you're not really thinking of yourself highly enough. You're kind of thinking of yourself, or you're not thinking of yourself as a victim, but you're in that victim mentality of like, I have to do this. I must do this. This is something that I have to do, or else so and so won't like me. Well, you also want to get out of that mode of thinking, right? That mode of thinking of, oh, I'm going to be so concerned if people don't like me. It's okay for people not to like you. It's okay for you to be not the most popular person. It's okay for people to have polarizing um, feelings about you. That's perfectly okay. I'm not saying you want to go and intentionally upset somebody, but what I'm saying is it is going to upset some people when you go from being a people pleaser to being someone that is more wholly fulfilled and that is more together and more confident and really has this like they're able to own their energy and able to own their time and able to own their money. We don't think of it as we're spending it so quickly, but we really are. When we're saying yes to all these different things, when we're trying to make everybody else happy, what we're forgetting about is making ourselves happy. We should always be focused on making ourselves happy as well. This doesn't mean that you're always going to be priority number one, although I do believe that you have to, at the very least, love yourself first before you can truly love anybody else. But when it comes to people pleasing, what we're doing is we are constantly caving in. We are constantly giving in to these other people. We are constantly concerned. Our self confidence is low because we're unable to say no. We feel out of guilt oftentimes that we shouldn't say no, that it's not okay to say no, that it's not okay to have our boundaries, and it's not okay to kind of say, you know what, this might be kind of toxic for me, which happens a lot. There's for a lot of people, they end up getting into these toxic relationships, into these toxic environments because of their inability to say no. So, what I really want you to focus on is being able to easily just say no, or say no thank you, or say that this is just not for me, this is just not something that I want to do. And it doesn't have to be rude, like I said earlier, it doesn't have to be rude in any capacity, but you don't have to please everyone, and you don't have to feel as though you have to please everyone. You do not need to have everybody liking you. This is again coming from a place of not having enough self-confidence. And in order to have that self-confidence, you have to have these boundaries. You have to be able to say no. You have to be able to really conserve your time, your energy, and your money. You have to know what to spend it on, how to spend it. But if we're just focusing on the people pleasing, I want to say that a lot of people that are people pleasers are really good, kind hearted people. They really don't know how to get out of it. They really aren't sure how they got into it. All they know is that for a lot of them, they just want people to like them. Their biggest thing, the thing that really gets them feeling that self worth and that self value, is the value that others are placing on them. I can tell you from experience that believing that you are what others say you are, that you are worth only what somebody else will say that you're worth, is such a big mistake. It's so bad for your self esteem. It's so bad for your self confidence because you really want to be able to come from a place of, I can know my own worth. I can cultivate my own value. I can really see myself for who and what I am. And I am able to see that I am worth more than what someone is asking me to do, or I am worth more than what this certain situation it feels like I'm being put in a certain situation where I have to say yes. We have to take responsibility for our actions. We have to know that everything has a consequence. And of course, having a consequence does not necessarily mean that's something negative. It's just that everything that we do, everything that we say has a consequence. So sometimes we think if we're going to say no to things, that that's going to have a negative connotation on us. Well, for some people, in some people's minds, perhaps they will not like this new you. Perhaps they will not like the fact that you're not willing to people please anymore. But that's something that you just going to have to be okay with. That's something that you're going to have to understand that it's not your fault and there's nothing wrong with wanting to change the fact that you have been people pleasing for the majority of your life or for any point in time of your life. It's really easy to slide into this people pleasing thing, especially when you have low self confidence, especially when you have low self esteem, because you seem to get your self esteem and your confidence from making others happy, from doing what other people want you to do, and not so much from doing the things that you yourself want to do. So, in order to stop people pleasing, again, as I said earlier, you have to be able to say no and you have to be able to set up your boundaries. Create your fortress. Know exactly what your boundaries are. That's something you definitely want to explore. What are your boundaries? What are you willing to do and not do? What makes you comfortable and not comfortable? Really dive deep and really think about that. What about a certain situation or a certain person in your life, what really makes you feel comfortable? When is it that you're getting that feeling of, this isn't really in my wheelhouse, this isn't really something that I feel comfortable doing, but I'm doing it anyways? When you're in those positions, and this is not talking about a position of growth, I'm specifically talking about people pleasing when you feel as though you have to people please all the time, that's what I'm wanting you to end. I'm wanting you to get out of that by learning to say no, by really thinking about what are your boundaries. And oftentimes that comes from understanding and knowing what your values are, right? What you place importance upon. Knowing what those things are, knowing what your boundaries are, knowing that it is perfectly okay to say no is going to get you out of that people pleasing as quickly as possible. For some people, it is a process, especially if you've been doing this for a long period of time. If you've been a people pleaser for the majority of your life, and for me, that was something that I was for a very long time, I was constantly in that people pleasing mode. I was constantly wanting to seek approval from everyone around me rather than seeking approval from myself and from my higher power. That was such a big thing. And it was such a big awakening to understand and to learn, hey, first off, it's almost like going to an AA meeting or something, right? It's like, hi, my name's Jenna and I'm a people pleaser. It's very much like that. It's so much like that. Understanding that people pleasing is going to get you nowhere, right? It might get you people liking you, but really, what is that going to do for your energy and for your time? It's not going to do much. Getting out of that people pleasing is what's going to get you into that confident place. It's what's going to get you into saving your time, into saving your energy. Being able to say no to things, that's what's going to give you the space to do exactly what you want to do and knowing exactly what you want to do. So never really feel bad about saying no. Never feel bad about people not liking you, because not everybody's going to like you. I know I have people that don't like me, and that's not something that I struggle with because I completely understand. I'm not everyone's cup of tea. You're not everybody's cup of tea. It's just something that we have to understand, that we don't have to be in this people pleasing mode. We don't have to be in this, oh, I need everybody to like me mode. That makes me think about The Office. Something that the character Michael Scott says, right? He says, I don't need people to like me, or he says, I don't want people to like me. I don't require it or something like that, but I need it, right? So needing other people's approval. That's another place where this people pleasing comes from. Feeling like you have to make everybody else happy. Feeling like you have to make everybody else feel secure, feel good. This is not something that you have to do. This is not something that's your responsibility. We are all responsible for our own emotions, our own feelings, and our own actions. So do not make yourself responsible for other people's feelings and emotions. You have to let go of that. And that's not something that's easy for everybody to do. Again, for some people, this takes time. For other people, it just is like an epiphany, it just clicks. And they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't see it this way before. And for me, it's like, that's how I feel. Spending all that time people pleasing, spending all that time saying yes to things that weren't right for me, saying yes to people that weren't having my best interest at heart, really aligning myself with the people that did have my best interest at heart, that wouldn't get quote unquote butthurt, for lack of a better term, I guess, that wouldn't get their feelings hurt, that wouldn't get, overly emotional when I would say no. So, something in the Hispanic culture, because I am half Hispanic, something in the Hispanic culture, something that is associated with taking care of others is the feeding of others, right? So, just this morning, typically I will just eat stuff. I've put on a little bit of weight, and it's because I've been eating stuff sometimes that I don't really feel like I need to eat, and I'm not really hungry, but because I want to be polite, and in that culture, in my culture, that's something about being polite is eating when someone, serves you food or makes something for you. Um so I've had to learn even now, right? That I didn't know that I was doing something people pleasing from that aspect, but I was. So today I said, no, thank you. I don't feel hungry. And no one got upset. That was my fear. It's almost the fear of the unknown, right? Before you say no, you're so afraid that someone's going to get upset, that someone's going to have their feelings hurt. And maybe you do know people that would have their feelings hurt if you were to tell them no. But sometimes they don't get upset, they understand. So for me, going through this and seeing that, oh, I'm caving into all these things that don't, or into this one thing in particular that doesn't align with me, it was like a big wake up call for me today. I was like, hey, in a way, me eating that food when I'm not really hungry, but because someone made it for me, that's me getting into that people pleasing mode. And again, sometimes we fall back on the things that we know we should be doing. Sometimes we forget about the things that we've taught ourselves, and we fall back into those modes, especially when you've been doing it for such a long period of time. So, what I'll say is, again, the biggest thing is getting out of that victim mentality, getting out of that need for everyone to like you, because it's okay. Not everybody's going to like you. It's perfectly okay. Getting out of that need to always say yes to everybody, and being able to say no, being able to develop your boundaries, being able to know what you're comfortable with and what you're not comfortable with. Anyone that is your real friend or a good family member is going to understand that, hey, it's okay for this person to have boundaries. It's okay for this person to say no to things. It's okay for this person to not always be jumping to serve everybody else. Because eventually, when you're just serving other people all the time, it's not about what's in it for you, but what it is about is conserving your energy for yourself as well, protecting your energy, protecting your feelings and your emotions, which are things that are within your control, but you do have to have certain things to kind of stabilize it. And when you've spent all your energy, when you've spent all your time and you don't leave anything for yourself, you're really doing a disservice to yourself. So please, if you take away anything from this, just know it is possible to stop people pleasing. Sometimes you have to go back and rethink about it again and have that little epiphany of like, hey, this thing that I'm doing is people pleasing in a way as well. But just understand that it is something that you can get out of. It's something that I really hope that you get out of, that I really hope that you're not dealing with, because it is something that can be difficult, but it's something that you can definitely get out of for good. And even if you backtrack a little bit, it's okay. You can always just recognize, acknowledge, and move on. Thank you so much for joining me for today's live stream. I am so honored that you were here. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, and or join one of the membership tiers as it is popping off. I'll see you on the next video or live stream. And I really hope that you are ending your people pleasing. Be well, stay wild, as